I shouldn't have opened his laptop, but it was right there on the desk, screen still glowing from where he had left it open. James had gone to the shop to grab milk, telling me he'd be 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That's all it took for me to ruin my world. At first, I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to play music while I waited. But then I saw it, sitting in the corner of his desktop like a wound, a folder named Private. My stomach twisted, my fingers shook, and even though I told myself, "Don't do it, Emma, don't be that girlfriend," I clicked. Inside were dozens of screenshots. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. Messages, all from different women. Some of their faces were saved as profile pictures, their smiles haunting me instantly. One was named Maya, another Clara. And then there were others, unknown names, numbers saved without faces. I clicked one at random. "Last night was amazing," the message read. My mouth went dry. James had replied with a heart emoji. I clicked another. "When can I see you again?" the girl had written. "James, soon. Don't worry. She doesn't suspect anything." She didn't suspect anything. That was me. My knees gave out, and I had to sit down on the edge of his bed. The air around me felt heavy, like the room itself was holding its breath. I couldn't stop scrolling. Each file was worse than the last. Photos of him holding hands with other women, flirty texts, promises, lies. And every time I scrolled, I hoped I'd find proof that this was a mistake, that maybe these were old messages from before we met. But the dates killed that hope quickly. Just last week, 2 days ago, yesterday, I felt sick. James wasn't the man I thought he was. The man who kissed my forehead every morning. The man who called me his girl, like it meant something. He wasn't mine. Not really. He belonged to all of them. The sound of the front door opening jolted me back to reality. He was home. My heart jumped, and I slammed the laptop shut, shoving it aside like it had burned me. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Steady, calm, completely unaware of the storm waiting for him. I tried to breathe. I couldn't. The folder still burned in my mind. Those words carved into me. She doesn't suspect anything. But now I did. And I had a choice. Act like nothing had happened, or confront him, right here, right now. The moment James walked in, carrying a plastic bag from the shop, my whole body went stiff. He smiled like nothing had changed. He didn't know that I knew. That smile made me feel sick. I forced my lips to curve upward, though my chest felt like it was caving in. He kissed me lightly on the cheek and said, "Got the milk." His voice was normal, casual. I wondered if he could hear the storm in my chest. I stared at his face, searching for signs. Did guilt hide in the lines around his eyes? Did his hand shake when he set the milk down? No, he looked exactly the same. Calm, loving, like the man I thought I knew. That's what scared me most. How could someone be this good at lying? "Everything okay?" he asked, glancing at me. I swallowed hard. My throat felt like sandpaper. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." He accepted it, just like that. He sat down next to me, opening the laptop. My heart nearly stopped. But instead of opening the folder, he pulled up Netflix. He leaned back, threw his arm around me, and pressed play on some random show. I couldn't focus on a single scene. My brain screamed, "He's a liar. He's cheating. He thinks you're stupid." I wanted to shout at him, throw the laptop at his face, demand the truth. But I didn't. Not yet. Because something told me this was bigger than just texts. There were too many women, too many dates, too many secrets. If I confronted him now, he'd find a way to talk himself out of it. I needed proof. Proof that I could hold up and say, "This is what you did to me." So I played along. I laughed when he laughed at the TV. I leaned against him when he pulled me close. On the outside, I was still his girlfriend. On the inside, I was breaking. The entire night, I couldn't stop thinking about the folder, about Maya, about Clara, about the faceless women whose names were just phone numbers. I repeated their words in my head. Last night was amazing. Don't worry, she doesn't suspect anything. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I lay awake next to him, staring at the ceiling long after he fell asleep. His breathing was steady, calm, peaceful. Mine was shaky, uneven, full of hate and fear. I whispered quietly, so quiet that even I could barely hear it. "I know what you did. Tomorrow, I will start digging." The next morning, James left early for work. He kissed my forehead before heading out, just like always. I stayed frozen in bed, pretending to be asleep until the sound of the front door clicked shut. The second I was sure he was gone, I shot up, grabbed his laptop, and opened it. My hand still shook, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something else. Anger. The folder was still there. Private. Clicking it again felt like ripping open a wound, but I had to. The messages waited for me, like little bombs ready to go off. I opened one chain. Maya. Her messages were flirty, confident. She used words like babe and can't stop thinking about you. James's replies were just as bad. Promises, secrets, lies. Then Clara. Hers were different, sweet, almost innocent. She wrote things like, "I hope you liked the cookies I made you." And "Did she notice you were out so long last night?" Clara wasn't just a fling. She thought she was his girlfriend, too. I clicked through more, different styles, different voices, but one thing connected them all. James. He was like a spider in the middle of a web, pulling them all in, feeding off their trust. My stomach turned. How long had this been going on? How many women were there? Scrolling further, I found pictures. James with Maya at a pub. James is holding Clara's hand in a park. James was smiling with another girl I didn't even recognize. The photos were dated 2 weeks ago, a month ago, last night. My breath caught. Last night. The night we had dinner together, when he'd held my hand across the table and said I was the best part of his day. He had left me for her. Tears stung my eyes, but I wiped them away. Crying wouldn't help. I needed answers. I grabbed my phone and took photos of the messages, the pictures, the proof. My camera roll filled up with evidence of his betrayal. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I couldn't let him erase it. That's when my phone buzzed. A message. From Sophie, my best friend. "Want to hang out later?" For a second, I hesitated. Should I tell her? Could I even say it out loud yet? But keeping it inside was suffocating me. My thumbs flew across the screen. Yeah, I need to talk. Urgent. By the time James came home that evening, I had hidden my phone, tucked the anger deep inside me again, and played the role of the perfect girlfriend. Smiling, cooking, laughing at his stupid jokes. But in my head, I wasn't Emma, the girlfriend, anymore. I was Emma, the detective. And soon, I wouldn't be alone. I met Sophie at our usual spot, a quiet coffee shop tucked away on a corner street in London. Normally, the place smelled like comfort. Roasted beans, warm pastries, the soft hum of chatter. But today everything felt heavy. My stomach twisted the whole bus ride there, and even as I pushed through the door, I wasn't sure if I could actually say it out loud. Sophie spotted me instantly. She waved, her blonde hair catching the light through the window. Her smile faded the second she saw my face. "Emma, what's wrong?" I slid into the booth across from her, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. My throat felt dry, but I forced the words out. "It's James." Her eyes narrowed. "What about him?" I took a deep breath, then unlocked my phone and shoved it across the table. The screen glowed with the photos I had taken from James's laptop. The messages, the pictures, the folder of lies. Sophie's mouth fell open. She scrolled through the images, her face shifting from confusion to shock to rage. "Oh my God, Emma, he's cheating. On you. With, wait, how many girls is this?" I shook my head, my chest tightening. "I don't even know. Maya, Clara, and more I don't recognize." "It's not just flirting, Soph. He's with them. He tells them I don't know. He makes plans with them while I'm at home waiting for him." My voice cracked on the last words. For a moment, Sophie said nothing. Then she reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Her grip was warm, steady. "Emma, you don't deserve this. You need to leave him." I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. "I can't. Not yet." "Why not?" Her voice rose, then softened when she noticed people glancing our way. "You have proof. You know he's a liar. What else do you need?" I looked down at the phone, at James's words staring back at me. I whispered, "I need to know why." Sophie frowned. "Why? Who cares why? He's a snake." But I shook my head. "No, Soph. There's more to it. There has to be. The way he hides it. The number of women. It's calculated. Like he's juggling them, keeping track of who knows what. I can't just walk away. Not until I understand." Her eyes softened with worry. "Emma, that sounds dangerous." I shrugged, though my chest felt tight. "Maybe, but I need to see how deep this goes." Sophie leaned back, crossing her arms. "Fine. If you're really going to do this, you're not doing it alone. I'm in." Relief washed over me, but fear quickly followed. Because this wasn't just about James cheating anymore. It felt bigger, darker, and now I had dragged Sophie into it too. As we left the cafe, Sophie slipped her arm through mine. "If he's playing games," she whispered, "we're going to beat him at his own." Sophie came back to my flat with me that evening. James was still at work, which gave us a few hours to talk freely. We sat cross-legged on the living room floor, my laptop open between us, the folder glowing like a curse. Every time I saw the word private, my stomach turned. Sophie pulled her hair into a messy bun, leaning closer to the screen. "All right," she said, her voice low and steady. "We need to map this out. Who are these girls? How does he know them? And how do we find out without him catching on?" I rubbed my temples. "I don't even know where to start. Maya, Clara, those are just names. He could have met them anywhere." "Look," Sophie said, pointing at a picture of James with Maya at a pub. "See the background? That's the Red Lion. It's on Baker Street. I've been there. Maybe she goes there a lot." My chest tightened. "You think I should follow him?" Sophie's lips curved into a mischievous smile. "Exactly. We track his patterns, where he goes, who does he meets. If we're lucky, we'll catch him with one of them." The thought made me both sick and determined. I wanted to see his lies crumble in real time. I wanted to look into his face while he was with someone else and know that he couldn't talk his way out of it. But we have to be careful, Sophie added, her tone serious now. If he realizes you know, he might wipe everything. The messages, the photos, all of it. We need to stay one step ahead. I nodded, chewing the inside of my cheek. She was right. I had to play the role of the perfect girlfriend a little longer. Smile, laugh, pretend I knew nothing, while secretly watching his every move. We spent hours going through the files, jotting notes on a pad of paper, dates, places, names. Sometimes his texts mentioned locations, pubs, parks, even a hotel once. Each one was a breadcrumb, a piece of the puzzle. By the time the clock hit 6, my nerves were frayed. James would be home soon. Sophie closed the laptop and shoved the notes into her bag. She squeezed my hand. Don't let him see you breaking. You've got this, Em. I nodded, though my chest ached. Watching the door as the key turned in the lock, I felt like two different people. On the outside, I was still his Emma. On the inside, I was already planning his downfall. The first time we followed James, my heart nearly pounded out of my chest. Sophie and I waited at the corner, across from his office building, hiding behind a row of parked cars. The autumn air in London was sharp, and my hands felt clammy even inside my jacket pockets. I kept asking myself why I was doing this. Why not just confront him and end it? But the truth was, I wasn't ready. Not yet. At exactly 5:30, James stepped out of the glass doors of his office. He looked like he always did. Smart suit, confident stride, tie loosened just enough to make him look casual. He didn't see us. Of course he didn't. He never thought I'd be the one watching. Sophie nudged me as we started walking a safe distance behind him. Don't stare too hard, she whispered. Act normal. Normal? I hissed back. I'm following my cheating boyfriend through central London. How is that normal? But still, I did as she said. We blended into the crowd, letting the flow of people carry us. James didn't head straight for the tube like usual. Instead, he walked 2 blocks over, past a row of shops, until he reached a pub. My stomach clenched. The Red Lion. Just like in the photo with Maya. He pushed the door open and disappeared inside. Sophie and I exchanged a look. My chest tightened, but I nodded. We followed. The smell of beer and fried food hit me instantly. The pub was crowded, but my eyes found him right away. He was at a corner table, leaning forward, smiling that charming smile I had once thought was only mine. And sitting across from him was Maya. I froze. She was beautiful. Long dark hair, confident posture, laughing at something he said. She reached across the table, touching his hand like it belonged to her. He didn't pull away. In fact, he squeezed back. I wanted to storm over, flip the table, scream every ugly word building in my chest. But Sophie grabbed my arm before I could move. Her voice was firm. Not yet. You'll blow everything. Just watch. So I watched. I watched him lie with his smile, with his hands, with every soft word I couldn't hear, but could see written on his lips. I thought about the nights he told me he was working late, the excuses, the moments I trusted him completely. Sophie slipped her phone out and snapped a photo. Then another. Proof. My proof was growing stronger by the minute. After an hour, James and Maya left together. My body shook as we followed them out into the night. They didn't notice us trailing half a block behind. They laughed. They held hands. Then they disappeared into a hotel lobby. The sight of it made me stop dead in the street. My stomach flipped. This wasn't just cheating, it was a whole double life. Sophie put her hand on my shoulder. I know it hurts, but this is gold. He can't talk his way out of this. I wiped the tears from my eyes, forcing myself to breathe. She was right. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The next morning, James came home like nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek, left his jacket on the back of the chair, and asked if I wanted breakfast. My hands trembled as I poured cereal into a bowl. He had just spent the night with Maya, and now he was here, acting like the perfect boyfriend. I forced a smile, swallowing the rage burning my throat. "Sure," I said. My voice was steady, but inside I was screaming. Sophie texted me later while he was in the shower. "He's not just with Maya. There's another girl. Clara, you need to see this." I slipped into the bedroom, heart hammering, and called her. Sophie's voice was urgent. "Remember the texts from Clara? The ones about cookies and him being out late? I think she thinks she's his girlfriend too. Not just a fling. I found her on Instagram. She posts pictures of him." My breath caught. "What?" "I'm serious. She posted one last week of him holding her hand in Regent's Park. The caption was, 'Lucky me.' And guess what? He liked it." I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands shaking. James was still humming in the shower, completely unaware. The sound made my skin crawl. Sophie lowered her voice. "We need to meet her, Clara. If she's serious about him, she probably knows more than you do." The thought made me sick. But she was right. I needed the truth, no matter how much it hurt. "How?" I asked. "I messaged her," Sophie said. "Pretended I'm planning a surprise for James, and wanted to get in touch with his other friends. She bought it. She agreed to meet us tomorrow." My head spun. "You did what?" "Trust me, Em. This is how we catch him." That night, I lay awake again, while James slept beside me. My phone screen glowed faintly under the covers. Clara's Instagram page stared back at me. She was younger, sweet-looking, with soft brown eyes and a shy smile. Her captions were full of hearts and inside jokes. She thought he was hers, just like I once did. I felt a twist of pity in my chest. She didn't know. None of us did. Tomorrow, we will meet her, and James's web would start to unravel. Sophie and I waited outside a small bakery near Camden Market the next day. My stomach was in knots. It felt wrong, meeting one of James's other women face to face, but it also felt necessary. If Clara thought she was in a relationship with him, then she was as much a victim as me. The bell above the bakery door jingled, and in walked a girl with soft brown eyes, a knitted scarf wrapped around her neck, and a hopeful smile that faded the second she saw me standing beside Sophie. Her lips parted, confusion flickering across her face. "You're Emma?" Hearing my name from her mouth was like a punch to the chest. My throat tightened, but I nodded. "Yeah, and you're Clara." For a moment, none of us moved. Then Sophie cleared her throat and gestured toward a table in the corner. "Let's sit. We all need to talk." We ordered tea we wouldn't drink. Clara's hands trembled as she stirred sugar into hers, though she never lifted it to her lips. "I don't understand," she whispered. "James told me. He told me you were just his flatmate, that you knew about us." My stomach dropped. "Flatmate, that's what he called me?" We've been together for 3 years, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. I'm his girlfriend, or at least I thought I was. Clara's eyes widened, filling with tears. No, no, he said you weren't serious, that he loved me. Sophie leaned forward, pulling out her phone. With a swift tap, she showed Clara the photos we'd taken of James and Maya at the pub, of the hotel lobby. He's lying to all of you. It's not just Emma, and it's not just you. Clara covered her mouth with her hand, tears slipping down her cheeks. Maya, she whispered. He told me she was just a colleague. Oh God, how many of us are there? I shook my head, my chest aching. I don't know, but we're going to find out. For the next hour, Clara told us everything. The late-night texts, the weekends James claimed he was working but actually spent with her. The gifts he gave her, the same kind of necklace he had given me last Christmas. Piece by piece, the puzzle grew. James wasn't just cheating. He was building parallel relationships, stacking lies like cards in a tower. By the time we left the bakery, Clara's face was pale but determined. If you're going after him, she said softly, I want in. I looked at Sophie, who raised her eyebrows as if to say, your call. I hesitated only a moment before nodding. Then let's take him down together. The three of us stood outside the bakery, the cold London wind whipping around us, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel completely alone. Clara sniffled, wiping her tears with the edge of her scarf. Sophie rested a hand on her shoulder like she'd been her friend for years. I looked at them both and realized something. James had tried to divide us, but instead he had just created his own enemies. Back at my flat, we spread everything out on the table. The photos, the screenshots, the notes Sophie and I had collected. Clara added her own evidence, dates, texts, even receipts James had left in her car when they'd gone on weekend trips together. My heart sank with every new detail, but at the same time, a strange kind of power was growing inside me. He's careful, Clara said, frowning as she traced her finger over one of the dates. He never double books. He always has an excuse ready. If I questioned him, he'd spin some story, and I'd believe it. Classic manipulator, Sophie muttered. She flipped her notebook open and started a list. All right, step 1, we track him properly. Not just guessing. We need a schedule, where he goes, who he sees, and when. Clara looked nervous. Isn't that stalking? Sophie shot her a look. He's been stalking you emotionally. This is just leveling the playing field. I stayed quiet, staring at James's smiling face in one of the photos. He looked so normal, so trustworthy. That was the part that scared me the most. We need to be smarter than him, I said finally. He thinks he's untouchable, that none of us will ever find each other. But now we have something he doesn't. Each other. Sophie grinned. Exactly. We're a team. Clara gave a shaky nod. Then I'm in. We built a plan that night. Clara would keep pretending she was clueless, just like I had been. Sophie would dig into the digital side, social media, location tags, any clue left online, and I would stay close to him, playing the role of the loyal girlfriend while secretly watching every move. It felt like a trap being set, piece by piece. When James came home later, he found me on the couch, curled up under a blanket, smiling like nothing was wrong. He kissed the top of my head, asking how my day was. And I lied right to his face, smoothly, effortlessly. Good, I said. Inside, though, I was already planning his fall. The first test was simple. Clara texted James on a night he was supposed to be with me. Sophie and I sat on the couch, pretending to watch a film, while my phone lay hidden under a cushion. James was in the kitchen, stirring pasta, humming to himself like nothing in the world could touch him. Clara's message popped up on Sophie's phone. We had added her to the group chat we secretly called Truth Team. She'd written, "Miss you tonight. Wish you were here." We waited. My chest thumped so loudly, I thought James might hear it from the kitchen. A few seconds later, Clara's phone buzzed. His reply, "Soon, babe," just stuck with her for now. Her, that was me. My throat tightened, but Sophie squeezed my knee, keeping me grounded. I forced my voice steady. "Dinner smells good," I called to James. He laughed. "All for you, Em." It took everything I had not to spit back the truth. Step 2 came the next day. Sophie posted a photo on her Instagram story of Regent's Park, Clara's spot with James. We watched from our group chat as Clara tagged him in a comment. Minutes later, James texted Clara privately, "Wish I was there with you. Soon." Meanwhile, he texted me at the same time, "Thinking of you. Work's busy, but I can't wait for tonight." 2 faces, 2 lies, 1 man. We saved every screenshot, every message. The proof was stacking higher and higher, but the cracks were starting to show. James grew twitchy at home. He double-checked his phone more often, sometimes stepping into the hallway to take calls. Once, when I walked in unexpectedly, he snapped his laptop shut so fast it nearly fell off the table. "What was that?" I asked, my voice as casual as I could make it. "Just work emails," he said, his jaw tight. I smiled sweetly, but inside I thought, "You're slipping, James." That night, Sophie whispered on the phone, "He knows something's off. He's paranoid." "Good," I said, my voice low and sharp. "Let him sweat." For the first time, I wasn't just surviving this. I was hunting him. James was changing. At first, it was little things. Checking his phone in the bathroom, locking his laptop, keeping his wallet closer than usual. But then, it grew bigger. He came home late more often. His smile felt tighter, forced. The charm was cracking, like a mask slipping. Sophie noticed it too. She texted me during dinner one night, while James scrolled his phone at the table. "He's jumpy. Keep watching." I stabbed at my food, forcing myself not to stare at him too hard. "Long day?" I asked, testing his voice. He nodded quickly, not looking up. "Yeah. Meetings." His thumb flicked across his screen. Fast. Nothing important. But I knew it wasn't meetings. Clara had already texted me earlier. He'd promised to see her that same evening. Instead, he was here, making excuses to both of us. "Funny," I said lightly, pushing the knife in deeper. "I was near your office today. Didn't see your car." That made him freeze, just for a second. But I caught it. His eyes flicked up, sharp, searching my face. Then he smiled again, too quickly. "Oh, I had to take the train. Car trouble." "Lie." I smiled back, pretending to buy it. Inside, my heart raced. He was slipping, and he knew it. Later, I called Sophie and Clara. We spoke in hushed voices, plotting our next move. Sophie suggested a direct trap. Get James to meet Clara and me in the same place without him knowing. Force the truth into the open. Clara hesitated. "What if he gets angry? What if he turns it on us?" "He will," I said quietly. "That's what liars do. But this time he won't have anywhere to run." The plan was risky, dangerous even, but my veins buzzed with adrenaline just thinking about it. For weeks, James had been juggling us like pieces on a board. It was time to flip the board over. That night, as James lay asleep beside me, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen. A message preview flashed from an unknown number. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, Exie. Another one. Not Maya, not Clara, not me. Someone else. My blood ran cold. How many more were there? The unknown number haunted me all night. I barely slept, staring at the dark ceiling while James snored beside me. If there was one more, there could be 10. How many girls had he pulled into his lies? How many of us were there, thinking we were special? By morning, I was done with waiting. I texted Sophie and Clara. We do it. We set the trap. We met in a quiet coffee shop near King's Cross. The three of us huddled around a table, speaking in low voices, while commuters bustled around us. Sophie laid out the plan like a general before a battle. James thinks he's clever because he manages his schedule. We're going to use that against him. Clara, you'll ask him to meet you Thursday at the pub on High Street. Emma, you'll tell him your friend's birthday is at the same pub. Same night, same time. He won't be able to say no to both of you. And when he shows up... She leaned forward, her eyes glinting. We'll be waiting. Clara twisted her coffee cup nervously. What if he doesn't come? Sophie smirked. Oh, he'll come. Men like him can't resist keeping all their plates spinning. I stayed quiet, watching the steam rise from my untouched drink. My stomach knotted, but underneath the fear was a burning need. I wanted to see his face when the lies collapsed around him. I wanted him caught with no escape. That night, I tested him. Hey, I said casually while folding laundry. Sophie's having a birthday thing Thursday at that pub on High Street. You'll come with me, right? James barely looked up from his phone. Yeah, sure, if I'm not working late. Lie. I smiled. It'll mean a lot if you're there. Later, Clara texted me. He said yes to me too. Same time. My hands shook as I typed back. It's working. The trap was set. On Thursday, Sophie and I sat in the pub early, tucked into a booth near the back. My heart pounded with every tick of the clock. Clara was waiting outside, ready to walk in once James arrived. The air smelled of beer and fried chips, the chatter of strangers, a dull roar around us. Sophie leaned close. When this blows up, Emma, don't let him twist it. Stick to the facts. We have proof. I nodded, my throat dry. My eyes stayed locked on the door. At 7:45, James walked in, smiling, relaxed, like he owned the room, and in that moment, I almost pitied him. He had no idea what was about to happen. James spotted me in the booth and waved like nothing was wrong, his smile wide and easy. My stomach turned at how natural he looked, as if he hadn't been lying every day of his life. He slid into the seat across from Sophie and me, kissing my cheek quickly before leaning back with his usual charm. Happy birthday, Soph, he said smoothly. Didn't know you were celebrating here. Sophie raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. She sipped her drink, cool as ice. My throat was tight, but I forced the words out. We thought this would be a nice place to relax. The pub was warm, filled with laughter and clinking glasses, but to me, it felt like a pressure cooker. My hands shook under the table. Sophie caught my eye, giving the smallest nod. The signal. The door opened again. Clara stepped inside. She spotted us instantly and froze, her face pale. Then, with a deep breath, she walked straight toward our booth. James saw her. For the first time since I'd known him, His smile slipped. His jaw twitched. "Hi, James," Clara said, her voice trembling, but loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. She slid into the booth beside Sophie, her eyes locked on him. Silence. James laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "Clara, what are you doing here?" My chest burned. "You tell us, James. Why don't you explain?" Sophie pulled out her phone, placing it flat on the table. "We know everything. Maya, Clara, all of them. Every text, every lie." His eyes darted between us, calculating, desperate. This is crazy. They're just friends. You're all overreacting." Clara's voice broke. "Friends? You told me you loved me." The words cut through the pub's noise, like glass shattering. Heads turned. A few people at the bar looked over, whispering. James reached for my hand, but I pulled it back like it burned. "Emma," he said quickly, voice low and urgent. "They're trying to mess with your head. You know I love you. You know I wouldn't—" I slammed my palm down on the table, the sound sharp and final. "Stop. Stop lying." He froze. For once he had no script ready. His charm failed him. His eyes flickered with panic. Clara slid her phone across the table, showing the texts. Sophie opened another set on hers. I pulled mine out too. A wall of proof surrounded him, undeniable. James's mask crumbled. The smile vanished. His voice dropped, bitter and sharp. "You think you're clever, don't you? Teaming up against me like some kind of witch hunt?" "No," I said quietly, my hands steady now. "We're just done being your fools." For the first time, James was the one cornered. James leaned back in the booth, his face tight, eyes darting between us like a trapped animal. Then, just as quickly, he changed. His voice softened, his posture relaxed. His expression melted into that fake charm I once thought was real. "Emma, listen," he said, his tone dripping with honey. "You know me. You know us. Don't let them twist this. Clara's confused. Sophie's jealous. They don't want us happy. That's all this is." Clara's jaw dropped. "Jealous? You told me you'd leave her for me." James didn't even flinch. He turned back to me, ignoring Clara completely. "She's just saying that to hurt you. Think about it, Emma. Who do I come home to every night? Who do I cook for, laugh with, plan a future with?" "You." His eyes locked on mine, intense, rehearsed. Once that gaze had made me feel safe. Now, it just made my stomach twist. Sophie slammed her phone down on the table. "You're pathetic. Still lying. Still spinning." She leaned forward, her voice sharp. "We have proof, James. Screenshots, pictures, dates. You can't gaslight your way out of this." The word hit him like a slap. For a second, his mask cracked. Then he laughed, loud and bitter. "Gaslight? Please. You all sound insane. Do you even hear yourselves? Sitting here like detectives, making up some conspiracy about me. Grow up." People in the pub were staring openly now. Whispers spread from table to table. A group of men by the bar shook their heads, muttering under their breath. The humiliation burned across his face. But he forced the smile back, desperate. He reached for my hand again, gripping it hard this time. Too hard. "Emma, baby, look at me. Forget them. You and I are strong. Don't throw that away over some lies." I pulled my hand free, my voice flat and steady. "The only liar here is you." His face darkened. The charm drained away. He leaned back, eyes cold. "Fine. Believe them. But don't come crawling back when you realize no one else will ever love you like I do." Claire's eyes widened with tears. Sophie clenched her fists. "But me, I felt something I hadn't in weeks. Calm. I'd rather be alone, I said quietly, than loved by a liar. For the first time, James had no reply. The silence in the pub was heavy, broken only by the clink of a glass somewhere near the bar. James's face twisted, his jaw tight, eyes flashing with fury. His voice rose, sharp and ugly. "You think you're so clever?" he snapped, his finger jabbing the air at Sophie, then Clara, then me. "You think you've trapped me? You're nothing. All of you. Pathetic. Desperate. Do you really think anyone will believe your little stories?" Clara flinched, but Sophie held her ground. "We don't need anyone to believe us," she said calmly. "We have the truth." James's laugh was bitter, cutting through the pub like broken glass. "Truth? Please. People lie every day. Screenshots can be faked. Pictures can be staged. And you..." He jabbed a finger at me now, his voice lowering into a venomous hiss. "You're just weak. You couldn't keep me interested. That's why I needed more." The words should have shattered me. Maybe once they would have, but not anymore. I leaned forward, my voice steady, every word deliberate. "No, James. You needed more because you're empty. You use people to fill the void inside you. And we're done being used." His nostrils flared. For a second, I thought he might slam the table, shout louder, cause a real scene. But then, the weight of the watching eyes pressed down on him. Dozens of strangers, staring, judging. He swallowed his rage, his face twisting into something sour. "You'll regret this," he muttered, grabbing his coat. "Not as much as you will," Sophie shot back. Clara's voice trembled, but she spoke up anyway. "You lied to me, James. You told me I was the only one. You made me believe it. But now I see you for what you are." James froze, his eyes flicking between us. 3 women united, stronger than his lies. For once, he had no control, no exit strategy. Just the truth, crushing him under its weight. Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the pub, the door slamming behind him. The 3 of us sat in silence, the noise of the pub slowly rising again around us. My hands were shaking, but inside, something had shifted. For weeks, I had felt powerless, trapped in his web. But now I felt free. Sophie let out a long breath. "Well, that's that." Clara wiped her eyes, nodding. "He's gone." I looked at them both, my voice soft, but certain. "No. He's finished." We sat in the booth long after James stormed out, the 3 of us staring at the empty doorway like he might burst back through it. But he didn't. The pub noise rose again, laughter and chatter filling the space where his rage had been. Clara sniffled, wiping her face with the back of her sleeve. "I feel stupid. How could I not see it?" Sophie shook her head firmly. "Don't. He's good at this. He makes you feel special, then uses that to blind you. It's not your fault." I stared into my glass, my reflection rippling in the amber liquid. It's his fault, all of it. But he's not just going to walk away from this. If he can do this to us, he can do it to others. We need to stop him. Sophie leaned forward. "Expose him." The word hung heavy in the air. Clara bit her lip. "But how? He'll just call us crazy. Say we're bitter or jealous." I looked at my phone, scrolling through the folder of screenshots, photos, and proof we'd collected. We have enough evidence to bury him. If we put it all together, if we make it public. Sophie's grin was sharp. "He won't be able to run from it." Clara hesitated, her eyes wide. "Public? Like online?" Exactly, Sophie said. He wants to play games in the dark? Fine. Let's drag him into the light. For the first time, Clara smiled faintly. You mean, like a warning, so no one else falls for him? Yes, I said, the idea growing stronger in my chest. He built a web of lies. We're going to tear it down, piece by piece. We left the pub together that night, walking out into the cold London air. The city lights glowed around us, buses rumbling past, people hurrying through the streets with their own lives and secrets. For weeks, I had felt small, powerless, like I was drowning in someone else's story. But as the three of us stood there, huddled together, I realized something. This wasn't James's story anymore. It was ours. We met the next day at Sophie's flat, a tiny second-floor place above a shop that smelled faintly of coffee beans from downstairs. The three of us sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a mess of laptops, phones, and notebooks. It looked less like a girls' hangout and more like a war room. Step 1, Sophie said, opening her laptop. We organize everything. Screenshots by date, photos in order, receipts matched to his excuses. Once we line it all up, the pattern will be impossible to deny. Clara pulled out a shoebox filled with folded papers. I kept these because, I don't know, I thought they were sweet. Notes he left me. Ticket stubs from trips. But now I see them for what they are. Lies on paper. She dumped the contents onto the carpet, her hands shaking. My chest ached for her. I knew that feeling, realizing the memories you clung to weren't real, just props in his game. I pulled out my phone and opened the hidden folder again. Every message still made my skin crawl, but now they were weapons, not wounds, proof of who James really was. We worked for hours, piecing together the timeline. Clara's texts overlapped with mine. Sophie traced receipts to days he'd claimed he was working late. Maya's posts, the ones Sophie had found, lined up perfectly with the nights he'd gone out with mates. By evening, we had a thick stack of evidence. It was airtight. So what now? Clara asked nervously. We publish, Sophie said without hesitation. Blog, TikTok, Instagram, anywhere people can see it. We don't have to exaggerate. The truth is bad enough. Clara chewed her lip. Won't he come after us? He already did, I said quietly. Every time he lied, every time he made us feel crazy. That was an attack. This is just defense. Silence fell. Then Sophie raised her glass of water, like a toast. To ending James. Clara hesitated, then clinked her glass against Sophie's. I joined in, my voice firm. To the truth. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something close to hope. The night before we posted everything, none of us slept. Clara kept pacing Sophie's flat, wringing her hands. What if he sues us? What if people think we're just bitter exes? Sophie barely looked up from her laptop. Truth is a defense. We've got dates, receipts, screenshots. People can judge for themselves. I sat by the window, staring at the London streetlights. Cars whooshed past, their headlights blurring in the glass. My chest felt tight, but there was no turning back. We had lived in his lies for too long. Now it was time for the truth. The next morning, Sophie hit publish. We launched everything as one giant thread on Twitter, with links to a blog that laid out the timeline in painful, undeniable detail. Screenshots of texts, photos from dates that overlapped, receipts proving his lies, even clips from Maya's Instagram where he'd appeared in the background. The reaction was instant. Within an hour, the thread had hundreds of likes and retweets. Comments poured in. This guy is a psycho. Classic manipulator. Sending love to the girls who exposed him. Clara sat frozen on the couch, watching the numbers climb. People actually believe us, she whispered. Sophie smirked. Of course they do. The truth always lands. But not everyone was kind. Some comments accused us of exaggerating, of being drama queens. One even said, "So what? He's just dating around. Big deal." Those stung, but I held on to the flood of supportive voices. The important thing was that his mask was cracking in public now. He couldn't charm his way out of screenshots. By evening, mutual friends started messaging me. Some admitted they'd suspected something was off about him. Others were shocked. One girl even DM'd Clara privately. He was talking to me too. Thank you for warning me. Clara burst into tears reading that, but this time they weren't just sad tears. They were relieved. Proof we weren't alone. Then James broke his silence. He posted a long status on Facebook, calling us vindictive liars who were trying to destroy an innocent man. He said we had twisted, harmless texts and fabricated stories. Sophie laughed so hard she nearly spilled her tea. Textbook. Deny, deflect, blame the victims. But the comments under his post told another story. People weren't buying it. Dozens wrote back, "Screenshots don't lie. Mate, you're finished." By midnight, James had deleted his post. And just like that, the power shifted completely. The morning after everything went public, my phone buzzed nonstop. Friends, co-workers, even distant acquaintances were messaging me. Some were shocked. Some said they were proud of me. A few admitted they'd seen red flags with James, but hadn't spoken up. By mid-morning, Sophie texted, "Check his socials." I opened Instagram. James's account was still there, but the comments under his latest post were brutal. People were calling him out, tagging others to warn them, demanding answers he couldn't give. He'd turned off comments within the hour. Clara called me, her voice shaking but stronger than I'd ever heard it. Emma, one of his old friends, just messaged me. She said James did the same thing to a girl years ago. Lied, juggled, ghosted. This isn't new. He's been doing it forever. My chest ached, but it wasn't pain this time. It was clarity. He wasn't special, and his charm wasn't magic. He was just a pattern, a broken record of deceit, running the same scam again and again. Later that day, Sophie and I went for a walk by the Thames. The air was crisp, the water reflecting the gray London sky. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. "He's finished," Sophie said, kicking a pebble along the path. "No one's going to trust him again. His whole image is ruined." I nodded, watching the river flow. But it's not about him anymore. It's about us. We're free of him. That's what matters. Sophie glanced at me, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "You sound lighter already." And I was. The constant anxiety, the late-night dread, the fear of what he was hiding, it was gone. He could no longer hurt me. That night, Clara joined us at my flat. We ordered pizza, sprawled on the floor with blankets, and laughed for the first time in what felt like forever. It wasn't forced, it wasn't a mask, it was real. James's face still haunted the corners of my mind, but it no longer controlled me. He was out there, angry, scrambling to rebuild what we had torn down. But his web had collapsed, and we weren't trapped anymore. For the first time, I let myself believe in a future without him. Weeks passed, and James's name slowly faded from the noise of social media. His accounts went quiet, his circle of friends shrank, and word spread quickly through our community. People knew who he was now. He could no longer hide behind charm or lies. One afternoon, I walked past the cafe where we'd had our first date. I stopped outside, staring at the little table by the window where he had once smiled at me like I was the only person in the world. My chest tightened, but then, to my surprise, the ache softened. That table didn't belong to him anymore. It was just a table in a cafe. Later, Clara and Sophie came over. We didn't talk about James much anymore. Our lives had shifted. Clara was signing up for a writing class. She'd always been too nervous to try. Sophie was planning a trip abroad. And me? I had started journaling again, filling the pages not with pain, but with plans. Ideas for work, dreams for travel, little sketches of things that made me smile. One evening, as the three of us sat in my flat, Clara asked softly, "Do you think he'll ever change?" I thought about it for a long moment, then shook my head. Maybe, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that we changed. We're not the same women he fooled. We're stronger now. Sophie raised her glass, smirking. To being free. We clinked glasses, laughter spilling into the night. Later, when I lay in bed, I pulled out my phone one last time. I opened the hidden folder, scrolled through the screenshots, the messages, the evidence that had once made me sick. Then, without hesitation, I hit delete all. The screen went blank. My chest felt lighter. For the first time in months, I closed my eyes and drifted into sleep without nightmares. James's chapter was finished. My story was just beginning.